Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be sharing with you how to cut this stylish asymmetric bustier pattern. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. So to start, here is my pattern paper and I've marked out my basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, under bust, waist, and my blouse length. So after my blouse length, I'm leaving about 3 inches below because we are going to add like an asymmetric, have an asymmetric hemline. So I marked my shoulder divided by 2 and I'll come down by 1 inch. Go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to connect. After I'm done connecting, I'll go ahead to find my chest line, and to do that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I'll draw out a straight line. Now I'll mark back what I have on the shoulder on the chest line area, and I'll go ahead to place my ruler to draw out a straight line. Next step, I'll go ahead to divide my armhole into 2 and mark. Now I'll come out by ½ inch. Go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. So I'll go ahead to place my ruler, connect from the ½ inch I have at the armhole to the lower part and to the upper part. Now I'll use my marker to go ahead to outline my pattern. So the next step you want to go ahead to take is to mark your dart, and to mark your dart is your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. So I went ahead to mark this all the way from the upper part of my pattern to the lower part of my pattern. Now I'm just going to connect, drawing out a straight line, and after I'm done doing this, I'll go ahead to mark my dart intake. I'll be marking 1 inch on both sides of my pattern. If you're plus size or a bit busty, so you can go ahead to use 1.5 inches for this pattern. Now I'll place my ruler and I'm going to draw a straight line connecting all those marks on this side and also repeat it on the other side. Next, I'll go ahead to place my curved rule, connect from the bust to the under bust. Go ahead to repeat the same thing at the other side of my pattern. After I'm done marking this, I'll go in with my marker to outline it to make it more visible for you to see. And after I'm done marking this, I'll go ahead to mark out a basic neckline for this pattern, which is 3 by 3 inches. I'll be using this to serve as a guide to cut out my pattern. I'll go ahead to divide the rest of my shoulder this way and mark. Go ahead to place a ruler and connect. After I'm done marking this, I'll go ahead to mark that intake of 1 inch there. I don't want to have too much gaping, and I'll go ahead to connect it down. Now I'll go ahead to insert my body measurement. I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now I'll add ½ inch for the dart and ½ inch for sewing allowance. So after this, I'll go ahead to mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. For the waistline, I want to take out 2 inches from my waist. My waist is 28 minus 2, I have 26, so I'll divide that 26 by 4 and mark. Measure the 2 inches dart intake here, mark and add my sewing allowance of ½ inch. Here I'll mark the hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. Now I'll just go ahead and connect my pattern, starting from the upper part to the lower part of my pattern. And after I'm done marking this, I'll extend it to the lower part, then go ahead to cut out this part that I won't be needing. Now I'll trace all these measurements on the other side. Now from the center of my pattern, I'll come up by 1.5. So from here, I'll be extending it to the other side of my pattern. Blend up your darts this way and I'll be coming down towards that side. So I like the armhole of my dress being a bit high when it's a tube. So I marked ½ inch at the armhole area and extended this. Now I'll just go ahead and use my marker to outline this, and I will extend it to the other side of my pattern. So after I'm done marking this, now I'm going to blend up my darts here and I'll start extending it to the other side to what I want. Now I'll just go ahead to connect this down to the lower part of the armhole and come up by ½ inch at the armhole this side. Now I'll just use my marker to outline my pattern. So this is what I have for this upper part of this dress, and I'll just shade out the darts. And after I'm done shading out the dots, we are going to work on the lower part of this dress. Now from the center point, you can decide to come up by 3 inches, but before going ahead to do that, I'll go ahead to mark out all the dart lines so that it will be easier for me to work on my pattern. So I marked 3.5 from that line, but I felt it was too much, so I used 3 inches. So from there I placed my ruler and connected. Now I'll blend in my darts and I'll extend to this side. So on this side of this dress is a bit pointy, but for mine I went up by 1.5 there and I connected. I just want to have the same waist hemline with the other side. So I'll go ahead to blend in my pattern this way and I'll be connecting it to the other side. Here I'll go up a little and then extend it to the other side. So I also came up by 1.5 and I'll connect. So I want to have the same hemline like at the lower part, that is by the side of my pattern, to make it much easier. So for my shoulder to waist at the front is 17.5. So to find your bust dart, your shoulder to waist at the front, you take it out from your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17 inches. My shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5. So taking out 15.5 from 17, I have 1.5. So this is what I'm marking for my bust dart. And after this, I'll just go ahead and shade it up, and I'm going to blend in this part before cutting out the pattern. So we are done marking out the front pattern, and I'll just go ahead to blend up the dart and we'll be cutting it out. So if you have any question regarding this pattern, please don't forget to leave your question at the comment section and I'll go ahead to cut this out. And at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also hit on the like button. So after cutting out my front pattern, this is what I have. Now moving over to the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements just like we did for the front. The only difference is that my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5 inches, while my shoulder to waist at the front is 17 inches. So I also went ahead to add extra 5 inches after my waistline. So the next step you want to take is to mark your dart. So I'll start by marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches. Now I'll go ahead to place my ruler and I'll draw out a straight line. So after I'm done marking that, I'll go ahead to mark my dart intake of 1/2 inch on both sides of my waist. Now I'll come down by 1 inch at the bust and I'll place my ruler to connect at both sides of my pattern. After I'm done marking this, I'll be extending this to the lower part and also extend this other part towards that lower part. Now I'll go in with my marker to outline this, and after I'm done outlining this, I'll go ahead to mark my measurement. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, add 1/2 inch. So the waist measurement you used at the front, that is what you use at the back. Then replace the dart intake and also add 1/2 inch for your sewing allowance. Here, mark your hip circumference divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance. So now I'll go ahead to place my curved rule and I will connect to the lower part. So after I'm done connecting now, I'll outline my pattern, and then for this pattern I'll be coming up by 1.5 just like we did for the lower part of our pattern and the front pattern, and I'll go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting, I'll come down by 1/2 inch here and go up by 1/2 inch at the armhole just like we did for our pattern. Now I'll go ahead to connect. So the reason why I'm coming down by 1/2 inch here is to avoid the lacing bar popping up. After this, I went in by 2 inches at the front part and I'll be cutting that out. That will be serving as the lacing area of my pattern, and I'll label my pattern as C meaning center and S meaning side. So after this, I'll just go ahead to cut out my pattern. So if you have any question regarding this pattern, please go ahead to leave your question at the comment section. And with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. See you in our next video. Thanks.